Welcome everybody back to Nine's Corner. I honestly feel like we need to start this sort of daily news caption of the day, what's going to happen next, because things are happening at such a rate. And I turned the YouTube to Fox News, Tucker Carlson. I hate to do it, but it's always good to know what the other side is thinking and doing. And I literally watched it for about 2 minutes because he wanted to talk about Dr. Fauci. And it's not his fault that he made so many mistakes when it comes to the coronavirus. It was just, dear God in heaven above, Fox News is now taking everything and twisting it. Donald Trump and his administration, but especially Donald Trump, has no one to take any responsibility for anything. It is mind-blowing. So my first question I'm going to ask is, what's going on between Canada, and I'm not going to say Canada and the U.S. because it's not. It's Canada and Donald Trump and his administration. Now, especially when I'm referring to the 3M issue. But before I get to all that, let me just start by saying, here's our candle for a wish for each and every one of us to find peace, harmony, and health. So, the fact is that there's been a lot of issues when it comes to the 3M production of the masks. Now, I totally understand how people from the U.S. citizens would say, hold on now, do not be sending these masks to anywhere but the U.S. But also understand that Canada, who has a company called Canada 3M, and there's stations around the world, and that, we have certain productions in Canada, certain productions in the U.S., certain productions elsewhere, and it all gets rotated. And it's more or less sort of, Trump is coming out after the company. Now, I have no idea if they have some unfair practices that I'm not aware of. But I do know that we depend upon them for our medical needs, whether there was a pandemic or not. And I guess, when something really important happens and people are put to the test and you see what kind of character they have, I don't believe that this shows us the character of America. I think this shows us the character of Donald Trump. The reality is that Canada and the U.S., you can name off different countries, but I don't think you'll find two countries that have been closer for over 100 years. We supported each other in World War I, World War II, in the Korean War, right up till today's Afghanistan. Appreciate that Canada shares the longest open border with the U.S. And we have the population of Canada can fit almost into New York. It's we have 33 million people in comparison to their hundreds of millions of people. So when we put ourselves out there to serve and to be of service, we're doing it from a very small space, from a very small place that makes us very dependent on the U.S. and vice versa, because these years of giving have been good. I think they said 35 out of the United States depend on Canada to buy their wares for their economy. That's 35 out of the 50 states. And Canada depends on them. I heard Ford, the Ontario Premier, Doug Ford, yes, the brother of, he's done a spectacular job of being honest, cutthroat, and just laying it all on the table and saying, here it is, folks. So, the reality is that there has to be a compromise. He even said, we have a border. If we shut down the border, if they shut down the border and say, okay, no more giving of food or products or medical or anything, there is a group of nurses that live in Canada and work in the U.S. We have oil production. oil, gas, I mean, that makes up a fair amount, and that's used in plastics. And I mean, we could go on and on. But the reality is that this is the longest relationship, kindest relationship. And when 9/11 happened, I was working in Ottawa, Ontario. I worked at the Ottawa International Airport. And Canada, certainly from my perspective and working in the airline field at that time in security, I mean, it changed the world. It changed everything. But Canada, in the face of an unknown, invisible fear, an unknown, invisible combat, an invisible, oh Lord, what's the word I'm looking for? Because I want to kind of equate it to, we didn't know what was going to happen, but we had America's back. We took the planes in Newfoundland, where I come from. They still have people from the U.S., from the States, that go down there because they're so appreciative of how kind everybody was. There is so much love and kindness between the two countries. So let's just look into what's going to happen with this. I certainly would hope that on a humanitarian level, they would not see Canada go without. And certainly I understand they're big productions. So, I mean, there's no way that we could spend months fighting over, this PPE. There's got to be a way that, I mean, we're talking about the States and Canada. You're telling me between the two of us, we can't figure out how to make production go? And even doing in our own countries, for our own countries, but still be supportive and realize that through the years, it's always been us against them. And I don't want to see that. Anyway, I am wishing each and every single citizen of the U.S., including Donald Trump, and every citizen of Canada and every citizen of the world, to find peace and health and mental stability during this time. So let's have a look at Donald Trump, because I know I went on, sorry. Let's look at Donald Trump. We'll look at present, near future, and far future. So in the present, we have the Two of Cups. This is the long-lasting relationship. This is definitely indicative of what we're talking about. This is a close bonded relationship that has come to a head. There is this indecision, and I think this is causing a rift, but it's because of the fear. There's the Ace of Wands. So I think there's going to be enough of a background and a relationship for us to come up with new and inventive ways to ensure that everybody gets covered, and strength for the far future. Now, see, this is the near future. So we're going to be thinking of alternatives, hopefully not alternatives to the U.S., alternatives with the U.S., but in the far future. Oh, this is also autumn. This, if you think the election's in November, so this is the autumn time of the year, November, September, October, November. So our relationship builds up strength again. So maybe by the time Trump is out, that we will again forge through and have a strong relationship. Let's just take out my Lenormands and do a sentence read. When I say that, I just put down 5 cards and try to read it like a sentence to see if we can get any details as to what's happening. Let's just have a quick little look. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have the bouquet. So that's an older, mature man. We have the book. So this is secret knowledge, information, knowledge. Then we have the ring. So there's a commitment, and gossip and talk and communication. So I think there's going to be communication between them. It's going to take some time. There's going to be communications, emails, phone calls. But I think Donald Trump, regardless of what he'd like to do, is committed to Canada and our past history. Let's just pull 4 more. Protection, garden, moon, and man. So we have our man who's worried about reputation. The moon is image, reputation, gathering. This is reputation. So Donald Trump is worried about his reputation when it comes to the public, about protection of the homeland. So underneath it, this is just Donald Trump again having to ensure that he has put as many obstacles and things in the way to just cause a kerfuffle. Oh. All right, guys. My next question, because it was asked in the comments, because Putin has been exposed to the coronavirus via his top doctor that he spent time with and shook hands with. So I thought, let's pull a tarot card and see what is the state of Putin's health right now. Is he going to experience health issues? Is he going to experience health issues? 1, 2. I just dropped one. Sorry. Hold on. This happens. I'm going to do this again. Putin. Is Putin's health compromised? Is Putin's health compromised? 1, 2, 3. Oy, oy, oy. Tower. Okay. So, Putin, you are going to have some good days and not so good days. This is something, I think he really didn't think for 1 second that he would have any health issues. This is coming out of the blue. This is like a strike of lightning that just happened. Let's clarify the tower, because this is not feeling good. Let's clarify the tower. Let's use our Lenormands and just see, is there any details about it? Because this is definitely showing, and this could also be representing not just Putin, but the numbers and the catastrophe that's in Russia. So they might have to really, let's just look. Coffin, which is illness. Mice, which is the nibbling away at, and man. So this is illness nibbling away at this man. You know what? I don't want to do this. I hope to God I'm wrong and that he's not sick, but I'm seeing a major little kerfuffle with him, and there's going to be something on that coming out. Will we hear about it? I can't imagine that we won't, even if it's after the fact. So let's just, I really don't like, I find it really hard to do anything about illness because I'm a compassionate person. I take on people's feelings. If they're hurt, I'm hurt. And then I get even worse. So let's look at Bill Gates. Just because I was watching, because everybody's, kind of saying, wow, this guy, he knew about the virus beforehand. Then you've got people that say, hey, he's behind all this and he's trying to make money off the virus. And, then people say, my God, he was so good because he gave $100 million for the COVID research and, for certain charities and whatnot to deal with the COVID. So I thought, let's look into his numerology and we'll pull a few cards and see how he's doing. Now, in his numerology, I found it interesting that he is, for a planner, which is not surprising, very practical, down to earth. He's very optimistic and he has great communication. But behind closed doors, he may have a little self-doubt and insecurity, but he doesn't let that come out. That's something that he works on. He doesn't have to. He also has a 6, which means he has a strong understanding of the world and a strong want to understand how the world works. He has a 9, which is very much a humanitarian number, beginning and ending. So he has a nice group of numbers. He has the 1, which is a leader, and he has a 3, which is creative and very communication oriented. I think because of the way our society is, I don't think anybody, I don't care if you're Bill Gates or who you are, nobody should be able to have $99 billion in their account. Because, if you actually do the numbers, and I swear to God to you, I did it on my calculator. If you divide $100 million into 99 billion, which is what he's worth, you get the percentage. So if you were somebody and you were making $30,000 a year, and I said, you give the same amount of money as Bill Gates has given, if you multiply that by your 30,000, it would be the equivalent of you giving $30. Think about that. So his numbers are good. He seems like a good person. All numbers have shadow sides. I don't know this man from Adam other than, knowing him like we see him on television. So I thought, let's have a look and pull a few cards and see what's happening around Bill Gates. Now, my gosh, I know 100 million is nothing to sneeze at, but when you look at the equivalent of if you're making 20,000, that's the equivalent of giving $20. And I know people that make a hell of a lot less and they give a hell of a lot more. So let's have a look at Bill Gates. And I don't mean that in a mean way, that he's at all a mean person or anything. Just saying he could have given a bit more. Okay. So in the center here for Bill Gates, I have the Ace of Swords. So this is somebody who is very cutthroat. Not in a bad way. It just means that he's grounded. He's a planner. He takes things step by step. But his thoughts are so progressive that it causes confusion and can get him in trouble. This is also feeling the pressure of being who he is, because he is a good person. He's human. Everybody has their good and their light and dark. But he does have a want to know how things are and how to make other people's lives better by his abilities, but he still wants money for it. Underneath it, we have the Hierophant. So I think whatever it is that he wishes to proceed with now, whatever it is that he'd like to push forward into the future, is being held back probably by Trump and his administration. It's sort of like, yeah, you hold on now, buddy. They're not taking, Bill Gates would love for them just to say, hey, listen to me and do as I say. But they're not giving it up to him. On top of it, he's weighing out the situation. He's in some ways not able to he's not able to give up his ego to not understand why these people aren't siding with him. It's like he knows that he could do things, he could make a change, but his eyes are being covered by the government. In the past, he's had the Magician. So, he's been able to manifest pretty much everything and anything and in all elements of everything. He's somebody who keeps his eye on a number of different groupings. So it's not surprising that he would have foreseen or looked into the idea of the presence of viruses and pandemics. In the near future, we have the Lover's card. So this is making choices and making sacrifices. And I think he will make sacrifices, hopefully more financial sacrifices in the future for the good of all people. But he also has the Moon. So this means there's going to be some shadiness on him right now. Whatever his full potential is, he won't be able to do that at this point because he has the Hierophant holding him back. It's almost like a loss-win-loss situation. It's sort of like, as much as he's the manifester, right now he needs to appreciate a loss so that he can really appreciate the win, if that makes sense. In a rich person's world, probably it does. So anyway, guys, that's my reading for today. I would really appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share. And if you have any suggestions about something that you'd like for me to look into, or if you just want to reach out and say hi, please leave a comment below. I appreciate each and every one of you. Wishing you light for your darkness. Take it easy. Take a deep breath. We're going to be okay. Tomorrow is another day. Take care, guys.